Hey there, I'm Mark. I'm the lease manager here at Wheaton Chevrolet. What I'm going to do right now is give you a little ABC on how leasing works and a simple explanation about a little diagram here. So to start off with, I'm going to draw a little triangle. There we go. A, B, C. What A is going to represent is the selling price of the vehicle. We're going to establish that at the beginning of the lease because it is a lease to purchase. So you do have the opportunity to buy the vehicle out at the end. That's going to be our selling price. Now, with a lease, it's a little different in finance in that you have a pause point towards the end of the contract where the residual or buyout, and you can use those terms interchangeably, is established at the beginning of the lease. Now, that number there is going to be based upon the vehicle you've selected. So the year, make, model, how long you're going to drive, and how far. So the leasing company has a reasonable idea of what they think the value is going to be at the end of the lease. Now there's actually two different styles of leasing. One is closed, two is open. So with a closed-end lease, it's generally offered by the manufacturers. So GM has the leasing arm called GMF. Now what they're going to do is guarantee that value at conclusion. So regardless of where the marketplace goes on the vehicle, we know that the value at the end is 15. If the value is not there, we can send the vehicle back to the manufacturer. If there's some equity in there, we're going to get the benefit of that. With an open-end lease, that is the true bank balance due at conclusion of the lease. However, in both scenarios, they're taking this information into consideration and they're putting their best number down. So again, just to revisit that, when the customer comes back at the end of the lease, we're going to do an appraisal of the vehicle and find out, well, what's the actual fair market value, regardless of what you're going to do, whether you're going to buy it out, drop it off, or maybe look at something different. If the value of the vehicle is higher, then that equity position is yours towards next new vehicle. If, for whatever reason, the vehicle has gone down in value, actually more to do with market forces as opposed to condition or mileage, that drop in value in the closed-end lease is not your problem. You have first right of refusal, so you can always buy that vehicle out for that amount, plus applicable taxes and fees, whatever's in place at that point in time. Or we can buy the vehicle as a dealership, that's what we gotta pay. And if neither one of us want it, back to the leasing company it goes. With the open-end lease, as I mentioned previously, that is the bank balance. So we do have to deal with those numbers. But again, it's a safe position in the sense that it is an expected value long-term based upon the projected market conditions and what you're doing with the vehicle. Now your payments are going to be the difference between that end value and the selling price. So again, essentially we're taking care of that depreciation in even monthly installments over the term. Now lease is different than finance or cash in that the taxes are only applied on each individual monthly payment as you make them or on any cash down. With cash or finance, you're going to be paying 12 or whatever the tax is on top of the purchase price and then financing that difference. With the lease, the interest is on the unpaid balance, but not on top of a tax imposition. So ultimately, you get a little more bang for your buck for the lease versus the finance. So to summarize here, the payments we make plus the buyout at conclusion must equal the agreed upon purchase price other than taxes and interest and how they're applied. Okay? So to conclude here, I'm going to talk about the options once you get to the end of the lease. So first one, you can buy it out. And you can pay cash or finance or potentially even release the same vehicle. Now in both those scenarios, that's the value we're dealing with at conclusion. Third, look at new or used. Whatever it is, that's going to make sense for you at that point in time. The beauty of leasing is that, again, you have a clear-eyed view of what the end value of the vehicle is going to be. There's no real guesswork there. And ultimately, most of us are looking to replace or perhaps upgrade or maybe get something a little bit cheaper. Things change over time. And the lease generally offers you shorter circumstances, say 3, 4, 5 years maybe, as opposed to 7 years financing. Last one, drop it off. So with the closed-end situation, again, we had that guaranteed value with the leasing company. It can go back, no problem. With the open, we're usually in a position where the vehicle can come back into inventory because we set it up properly at the beginning. But ultimately, you have a lot more choice and flexibility with lease versus cash or finance. I hope that's informative. And again, if there's any questions, we can certainly sit down and talk. Thanks very much for your time.